Hey guys, welcome to today's practice. I'm Lacey and this is Odin. He's having a relaxing practice today, but we're going to do a full body flow. This flow will have a little extra emphasis on balancing poses. Have some fun with it. You've always got like a wall nearby that you can lean on if you're feeling a little bit wobbly in any of the balances, but just take your time and enjoy. Let's get started. Begin in child's pose. Take your knees out a little wider than your hips, and you can let your hips sit back toward your heels as you walk your arms out in front of you. Just lower your head down gently, allowing yourself to relax comfortably into the pose. Start to take nice deep breaths, slowing the breath down and giving yourself a chance to slow your mind down as well. Become aware of the more internal sensations within your body, and allow your breath to continuously grow more full and spacious. From child's pose, slowly move yourself forward onto hands and knees and move through a few rounds of cat and cow, just alternating between flexion where you're rounding out your back and extension where you're arching your back, you're lifting through your chest. This will give you a good chance to just get the spine moving, and it will also give you a good indication of how your back is feeling today and if there's any stiffness or where in particular you feel sensation. Allow your breath to connect with the movement. From cat and cow, make your way into downward dog next. Tuck your toes under, let your hips rise all the way up, and slowly shift the weight back into your feet. It might feel good to start to walk out your legs, pedaling one heel down at a time. Or you can simply press down through both legs and enjoy the light stretch that you feel in your calf muscles. In downward dog, keep your arms strong and raise your right leg up toward the ceiling just for a breath or two. From there, draw the right foot through in between your hands and lower your back knee to the floor. Bring your hands up onto your front thigh and just come all the way up into an upright position. And from there, start to slowly press your hips forward into the lunge. As you go into the lunge, take your time and take those nice deep breaths. From here, lower your fingertips down onto the mat, tuck your back toes under, and pivot your back foot outward as you lift up that back knee. That's going to place your feet into position for Warrior Two. When you're ready, you'll come all the way up into Warrior Two, stretching your arms apart so your arms are parallel with the floor. Allow your torso to be stacked over your hips in a nice upright position, and you're reaching out with your arms and pushing down with your feet. Let's take a few breaths here. Now keep your lower body as it is, but bring your back left hand onto the back leg and stretch your right arm up toward the ceiling and slightly overhead like you're doing a little side bend. Keep pressing down into the floor with your feet. Lengthen out of your lower back and create space, and then just take a few of those deep breaths here. As you come back through center, let your fingertips come all the way around to the mat, pivot onto the ball of your back foot, and step straight back into downward dog. Repeating that on the left side, raise your left leg up toward the ceiling. Bring your left foot all the way through to the top and lower your back knee. Walk your hands up onto your front thigh until you come into a nice upright position, and then just slowly press the hips forward. As you start to feel sensation in the hip, let yourself breathe deeply, almost like you're breathing into that hip. So the breath is going downward into your belly, and you're really looking for that sensation in the right hip flexors. From the lunge, lower your fingertips, tuck your back toes and lift up your back knee, and turn your back foot outward for Warrior Two. Once your feet are planted, bring your torso up and stretch your arms apart, pressing down into the floor with your feet. Keep the legs and bring your back right hand onto your right leg and stretch up through your left arm, reaching up and slightly overhead into a little side bend. As you come back through center, let your fingertips come around to the mat, pivot onto the ball of your back foot, and step your left foot back into downward facing dog. In downward dog, come up onto your toes higher and take little steps up toward the top end of the mat. Now at some point you'll probably come up onto your fingertips to continue walking your feet forward, and eventually you'll arrive in a forward fold. Let your knees bend, let your neck and shoulders relax. And you can either hang your arms down, or you can take hold of your elbows or hug your legs. And then just letting your arms release down, start to come up slowly, keeping that strength through your legs and your core so your back is supported. Rise all the way to a strong and tall mountain pose. Keep a little core strength, press through your feet. And we're going to keep that whole feeling of mountain pose, but shift your weight over onto your right foot. Bend up your left knee and turn it outward to set up for tree pose. And place your left foot up against your right leg. You can go lower onto your ankle or calf, or you can pull the foot up to the inner thigh. At the same time, press your right leg against the foot and get really strong. Zip up that core strength. And you can start with your palms together in front of your chest, or maybe from there, reach all the way up through your arms. Now don't worry about it. If you get wobbly when you balance on one leg, that's definitely a normal thing, and you might find that you're swaying or moving or even falling out of the pose. You can always have a wall nearby to just reach out and use your fingertips against the wall for a little extra support. So just keep that in mind. From tree pose, join your hands together in front of your chest. Turn your left knee forward and bring it up in front of you. And then as you stretch your chest and torso forward, extend your left leg back behind you until you come parallel with the floor. Now this will be a warrior 3 variation, or sometimes it's called airplane pose. You'll keep your palms pressed together. Really engage through both legs, even your lifted foot, press through that left leg. Pull your core muscles in. And as best as you can, keep your breath going. Now we're going to step that left leg back into a high lunge. Bend your front knee, step your left toes toward the back end of the mat. And once your feet feel grounded in a nice lunge, bring your torso upright. And then go ahead and stretch your arms up and overhead as you press your feet into the floor. We're going to be taking about 5 or so breaths in each variation, so you have time to get into the pose, and then you've got some time to really simmer there and to feel the challenge, the intensity, or even sometimes the space that comes up. From high lunge, let your fingertips lower down onto the mat. Now your left hand's going to stay planted, so you can keep the fingertips on the mat, or you can slip a prop like a yoga block or any other block-shaped item underneath your hand. Turn your chest toward the right and stretch your right arm toward the ceiling. Be sure that you're not sinking into your finger joints on that left hand, so you can come right onto the ends of the fingers. You can use your knuckles or your palm. That's just going to give you a little bit more support. It's not straining the fingers. From the twist, lower your right hand and lower your back knee down onto the floor, and walk your fingertips further back so that you can roll onto your right heel. Now you're sliding that heel a little bit further ahead of you, so this is going to open up more of a hamstring stretch. And I find that you're either up on the fingertips will be comfortable, or if you're starting to feel too much hamstring strain, just bring in some objects underneath your hands to give you a little extra prop, whether that's yoga blocks or otherwise. And that'll just allow you to lift your torso up a bit higher as you go into the hamstring stretch. From here, very gently, a little bit at a time, just bow toward that right shin. Lifting your chest, rebend that front leg and plant your right foot on the floor. Place your fingertips down, tuck your back toes, and lift up your back knee. As you shift the weight into your front foot, pop your left leg up in the air, lift it as high as it'll go for one nice full breath. You can bow forward. And then exhale, place your left foot beside your right foot. You'll come into a forward fold. Relax your neck and shoulders. As you inhale, come up halfway to a flat back. And as you exhale, fold forward. Pressing down through your legs, slowly curl up to standing. And then exhale, nice tall mountain pose, strong through your core. All right, let's take the weight over into the left leg. Bend into your right knee and open that knee out to the side. And slide your right foot up against your left leg, either lower down near the ankle or you could pull your foot up against the thigh. Press your left leg into your right foot, nice and strong. And you can bring your palms together or play around with reaching up. And again, just be really comfortable with not being perfect in the balancing pose. Know that it's normal to wobble, to fall out of it, to experiment until you kind of find where your center of gravity is, and have fun with it. From here, bring your hands through center, draw your right knee forward in front of you, and as you lengthen forward, stretch your right leg back behind you, lengthening more parallel with the ground. Engage your core strength in and draw some length from your heel to your crown. As you hold this balance, take deep breaths. Let's slowly step back into high lunge. Step your right toes toward the back. Now you might need to adjust your feet a little bit on the mat to get into a nice solid lunge position. From there you can come upright, press down into the floor, and reach your arms up and overhead. Exhale, let your fingertips lower down. Leave your right fingertips on the mat or grab a prop for underneath your right hand. Turn toward the left and stretch your left arm up toward the ceiling. From there, exhale to untwist. Bring your hand down, lower your back knee down onto the floor, and just walk your fingertips back so you have enough room to roll onto your left heel. Slide your heel forward. Remember that you can bring some props underneath your hands just to give you a little extra height. And then you're very gently bowing over that left leg a little bit at a time. Inhale to lift and lengthen. Rebend up your front knee and bring that left foot onto the mat. And slide your hands, or you could use your props here, a little bit forward. Tuck your back toes under and lift up your back knee. And as you shift your weight into your left leg, pop your right leg up in the air. Lift it as high as it'll go for a big breath. You're maybe bowing forward. And then go ahead and softly release your right foot down next to your left foot, giving yourself a chance to just fold forward. As you inhale, take a half lift. And exhale, fold. If you're not quite at the top of the mat, just shimmy up a little closer to the top so you have some good mat space back behind you. We're going to set the feet up for chair pose. Bend into both legs as you sit the hips back. Engage your core and rise up, reaching out through your arms. In chair pose, draw your palms together in front of you as you sit back a little bit more. And take your left elbow across your right thigh, turning your chest toward the right into a twist. Sit back into your legs. Looking down at your feet, shift your weight into your right leg and step your left foot toward the back of the mat into a lunge position. Draw your torso up slightly and rotate toward the right, going back into the twist, this time with your legs in lunge position. Squeeze your right hip back and press your left hip slightly forward. Exhale and twist and lower your fingertips. Let's go into warrior two. Pivot your back toes toward the left. And as you press through your legs, bring your torso up, send your arms out. We've been here already. But this time what I want you to do is straighten out your front leg, keeping the feet in that nice grounded position. Reach a little bit forward with your right side and bring your right hand to your right leg. Or you can use a prop underneath your fingertips and reach your left fingertips toward the ceiling. Notice that you're not putting a lot of weight into the right hand, so I'm not leaning heavily on my leg, I'm not leaning heavily on my prop, I'm just using it there for a little bit of stability. So if I'm pushing on the leg, I'm not pushing the knee back into a really hyperextended or uncomfortable position, but I'm just adding a little tiny bit of pressure downward on the shin. From your triangle pose, lower your left hand onto your left hip and look down, bending up that front knee. Move your right hand about a foot ahead, and you can use a prop under your hand here, and step your back foot up quite a bit closer. This will set you up to go into your half moon balance. So you're going to be leaning on your right fingertips, then shift your weight into your right leg and slowly raise your left leg up about to hip height. Keep your core engaged, supporting your lower back, and press outward with both legs. And then you can decide if you want to raise your left fingertips toward the ceiling or keep your hand on your hip. From here, take your time to step back into warrior two, using that as a transition pose. And then from warrior two, turn your right toes in, facing toward the left side of your mat. Bring your hands to your hips, and with your knees softened, fold forward, letting your hands lower down onto your mat, and relax through your neck and shoulders. From the forward fold, lengthen up onto your fingertips, turn toward the top end of your mat and walk your hands around to the top, pivoting your toes around as well. Slide your right hand to the inside of your right foot and walk your right foot out a little bit wider toward the edge of the mat. Then place both hands together to the inside of that right foot. Your thumbs will be touching together, and you'll take a big step up with your left foot, setting you up for squat pose. Feet are turned out slightly. You're going to let the hips lower down slowly, and then your hands can come together. And if you find squatting to be really uncomfortable, you can slip a block or a pillow underneath your tailbone just to give you something to kind of sit back on. That's going to give you more support. It'll make your ankles feel a little more comfortable in this position. From here, let's take it into a forward fold, allowing your hips to stretch up. And slowly walk your feet back into position for chair pose. Once you get that set up, bend your legs and sit back. Engage your core and slowly reach up into your chair. Bring your palms in together as you sit back a little bit more, and then twist your right elbow to your left thigh, turning your chest toward the left, keeping the weight back into your feet and your heels. You're sitting back into the hips and into the strength of your legs. As you look down, shift your weight into your left foot. Step your right foot to the back of the mat, finding your way into a lunge stance. Draw your torso up slightly and return to your twist, turning toward the left. Legs stay nice and strong. Slowly untwist, lowering your fingertips down. Let's pivot those back toes outward for Warrior Two. And as you ground down through your feet, come all the way up into Warrior Two. But this time, straighten out your front leg. Stretch a little forward with your left side and place your left fingertips to your left leg or onto a prop, reaching your right arm up. Take those deep breaths. From Uttita Trikonasana, we'll move into our next balancing pose. Start with your right hand onto your hip. Look down and bend up that left leg so you can bring down your left fingertips. And you want to step your back foot up closer so you've got the space to place your left hand out ahead. From there, you can shift your weight forward into your left leg and raise up your right leg, coming into Ardha Chandrasana, or half moon pose. You can decide whether you keep your right hand on your hip or whether you play around with reaching your right arm up. And again, keep in mind that balancing isn't easy to do, and falling over is a really natural part of practicing balancing poses. This one especially because we're standing on one leg, but we're rotated a bit to the side, and that's going to make it even more challenging to hold the pose. From here, step back to Warrior Two when you're ready. From Warrior Two, pivot your left toes inward, facing toward the right edge of your mat, and interlock your hands behind you. With softened knees, fold forward and let your knuckles gently stretch back. Allow your fingertips to lower to the mat and lengthen. Then turn toward the top and walk your hands around, pivoting your feet as well. We'll take that left hand to the inside of the left foot, move your left foot out a little wider, and slide your thumbs together so that you can step your right foot up around your right hand and come back into your squat pose, just like we did before. This time, option to go into your Bakasana, which is an arm balance. So a little different, we're going to be balancing on the hands and arms. For Bakasana, start off with the hips lifted a little bit and bring your hands down flat, setting up your hands just like you would for plank or downward dog. And give yourself enough space that you can actually bring your knees right up against your triceps. I like to put the knees up higher on the triceps just because it makes a better shelf for the knees to sit on. Once you've got that set, you can start to shift your weight forward into your hands. So I'm rolling up on my toes a bit to do that. And as soon as I bring weight into my hands, I'm actually going to bend my fingers a little bit and really grip the mat. You want to utilize your hand and finger muscles here too. You might be playing around with that, or if you're feeling pretty comfortable with it, squeeze your inner thighs toward each other, squeeze your belly button in, and lift your feet toward your hips. So there's quite a bit of a squeeze there, and you can hear that in my voice as I'm lifting. I'm getting a little bit more strained because that's the kind of core strength that I want you to use, that I want you to feel. And even if you're not lifting the feet, I want you to start to feel that squeeze from the inner thighs and from the abs. All right, when you're done, let's come into a forward fold together, and we'll go feet about hip distance apart. Bend your knees quite a lot, and you might slide your hands under your feet to step onto your palms. Let your neck and shoulders relax. Slowly release your hands. Come to a half lift, just lengthening out your back. And exhale to fold forward. Place your hands down and step all the way back into downward facing dog from there. And then as you get to downward facing dog, just take a few of those deep breaths as you settle back into your heels, just like we did earlier, but it might feel a little bit different now that you had some movement. Then go ahead and bring yourself into child's pose, lowering the knees back to the mat. Sit back slowly with your hips and let your arms stretch out as you lower your forehead. From child's pose, slowly walk your hands in, bringing yourself upright. And you can scoot your knees a bit forward on the mat so that you're able to come through to seated. Swing your legs all the way around toward the top end of the mat. Open your knees out to the sides, bringing your feet together so you arrive in a butterfly position. Keep some distance between your heels and your body, and then just gently fold over your legs, resting your hands out in front of you. From the butterfly stretch, bring yourself up slowly. Let your knees come up and just slide your hands behind the thighs, grabbing hold of your hamstrings. Lean back so that you're balancing on your sitting bones. And once you feel balanced, raise your feet away from the ground so you come into Navasana or boat pose. Contract into your abdominal muscles, so make sure you're not using your back. Let your shoulders sit back comfortably, and you can decide whether you want to hold on continuously or whether you want to reach your arms out. Take the deepest breaths that you can while you're engaging the core and holding this position. And then go ahead and lower your feet. Let the knees open out to the sides, and this time draw your heels closer to your body, holding onto your feet or your ankles or shins. Let your spine sit tall as the knees gently press downward. Or you can stretch your spine forward, keeping your back relatively lengthened if you want to change or add intensity. Bring your spine upright, and let's play around with the balance just a little bit more. Move your heels a little bit forward, and as you bring the knees up, loop your 2 fingers around your big toes. You can walk the feet a little bit wider as you do this, and then you're going to start to move the weight back onto your sitting bones. Make sure there's nothing behind you and there's some mat space behind you just in case you roll back. Once you feel balanced on the sitting bones, you might play around with lifting your feet off of the floor while you're holding on with your 2 fingers. Now, a good key is to make sure that you bend your big toes around your fingers to grip onto them. So that's going to help hold the grip really well. And you might have your legs more bent. You can also play around with straightening the legs, just depending on how your hamstrings feel. And if you want to get kind of crazy, you can take your legs into more of a V shape for Trikonasana and just see what happens. Let's bring the legs together. You can soften or bend up the knees. See if you can let go of that grip and come into Navasana, either holding the hamstrings or reaching your arms out. You want the core to kick in right away so you're holding that strength. All right, go ahead and lower your feet down. Create enough space behind you that you can lie onto your back. And as you roll back, just let your knees curl into your chest and maybe even roll around a little bit on your back. From here, slide your hands up to your feet and take hold of your feet, either from the outsides or insides, for happy baby pose. And again, feel free to roll around if you'd like. From there, allow your feet to lower down onto the mat. Wrap your right leg all the way over your left leg and scoot your hips a little bit off to the right. Then twist your knees over to the left-hand side. Open your right arm out to the right, gently pressing your right shoulder blade toward the floor. You can also do this twist with your knees stacked rather than crossed. Slowly twist back to center, unwinding your legs. And to go into the other side, wrap your left leg over your right. Scoot your hips a little to the left and twist your knees off to the right. And open your left arm to the left. Bring your twist all the way back to center, unwinding your legs. And stretch all the way out into Shavasana for a short, comfortable rest. We'll just take a little time here, and then I'll bring your attention back. Begin to bring some movement back gradually, and you can slowly stretch your arms overhead, just taking a really nice full body stretch. Bend into both of your knees and roll yourself over onto one side. And then bring yourself all the way up to a seated position from there. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope this practice brings a little balance into the rest of your day, gives you a sense of that fun and playfulness that you can really get from this practice, and I hope to see you again very soon. Namaste.